My name is Guion Foreman, and I am calling the board September 17th public meeting to order. To protect the public's health in response to the COVID-19 outbreak and as permitted by Governor Pritzker's executive orders 2020-07 and 2020-52, this meeting is taking place remotely. This meeting is open to the public via audio conference and is being carried live by CAN TV. Those participating by phone are on mute in order to reduce background noise and disruptions. We have a court reporter making a transcript of this meeting. I will begin by taking attendance so it is clear who is participating in this meeting. Please say here after I read your name. Police Board Vice President Paula Wolf.
Here.
Police Board Member Matthew Crowell.
Here.
Police Board Member Michael Eady.
Here.
Police Board Member Steve Flores. Steve, I can see you, but I couldn't hear you. Well, you're on mute, but I will note that Steve is here. Board Member Jorge Montez.
Here.
Board Member Rhoda Sweeney.
Here.
Board Member Andrea Zopp.
Here.
Superintendent David Brown.
Here.
General Counsel to the Superintendent Dana O'Malley.
Here.
Chief Administrator of the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, Sydney Roberts.
Here.
Chief of Chicago Police Department's Bureau of Internal Affairs, Karen Konow. She's on mute, but I will note for the record that Chief is here. Deputy Inspector General for Public Safety, Deborah Witzberg.
Here.
And Executive Director of the Chicago Police Board, Max Caproni.
Here.
I would like to take a special privilege right now to say welcome back to Max. Man, you were out for a little bit last month. You know, we tried to do the best we could do without you. We're glad to see you back, man. And man, don't do that to us again. You know, we're glad to have you back, Max, man. We're glad that you're making a healthy recovery, man. And man, a lot of continued prayers for you and your family, man. You scared us a little bit, but we're glad that you're back and back on board. So thank you, Max.
Thank you. I'm very blessed to be here and to work with such a wonderful group as everyone here on this meeting. So thanks very much.
And thank you very much to Patty. I know she's watching CAN TV right now for making Max not come back to work immediately. So Patty and the boys, thank you very much. We will now proceed to the items on the meeting agenda. We'll have time.
Dean, can I interrupt? I didn't hear my name called, or I don't believe Reverend Eady as well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
O'Malley's here and Reverend Eady.
Thank you. Board Member Michael Eady. I'm going to note that Reverend Eady is here.
Yeah.
Okay. See, this, I should wear my glasses. That probably will help significantly. And Board Member John O'Malley.
Here.
All right, thank you. We will now proceed to the items on the meeting agenda. We will have time at the end of the meeting for public comment. Once again, those participating by phone are currently on mute in order to reduce background noise and disruption. When we get to the public comment portion of the meeting, we will unmute each speaker. In the event that does not work, we will try *6. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the board's July 16th and August 20th regular public meetings?
I so move, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. The next regular public meeting will be held on Thursday, October 15th at 7:30 p.m. Whether this will be an in-person meeting or a remote meeting will be determined closer to the meeting date. Is there a motion to close a series of executive sessions for the purposes of considering personnel matters and litigation as authorized by sections 2C1, 3, 4, and 11 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act?
Paula Wolf, I move.
Michael Eady, second.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. A report of disciplinary actions taken by the board during the previous month has been made available on the board's website. There are no disciplinary cases on the agenda for this evening's meeting. Pursuant to Rule 52 of the Rules and Regulations, Superintendent Brown has requested the board's authorization to solicit donations to cover the cost of providing all officers with new ballistic helmets. Is there a motion to grant the authorization?
So moved, Paula Wolf.
Second, Michael Eady.
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion passes. The general orders and other directives issued by the superintendent during the previous month are posted on the police department's website. Superintendent Brown, would you now like to provide an oral report?
I would. Thank you so much, again, Mr. President. Well, just so that you know, update on the helmets. So police department has had helmets that were outfitted back in the late 1960s that we've kept. For some reason, they're not ballistic, nor do they have any kind of protection with its reflective glass covering, shield covering on the helmet. So we upgraded a request to the Memorial Foundation and others. On yesterday, Memorial Foundation agreed to purchase 1,650 helmets that are Kevlar layered and laser reflective. And while those two components are important, Kevlar and laser protection, is because we've seen across the country guns, rifles, and handguns interjected in peaceful protests and being used inside the crowd. And so we believe a layer of Kevlar will protect our officers who are on the protest line, ensuring First Amendment speech is being done in a way that's safe. And we've also seen officers having had the laser pointers pointed at their eyes on the protest line by agitators. And so there's a shield that's been made to attach to the helmet that deflects laser pointers from damaging the eyes of our officers. And so it's really important that the Memorial Foundation agreed to step up and purchase 1,650, which will outfit all of our attack teams, all of our critical incident response teams, and our community safety teams with helmets. That's significant. We do have another donor that likely will purchase additional helmets for our 1st district and 18th district. That's our downtown district officers. And so we got fingers crossed that we can get across the finish line. And why the timing is so important. This is a run up to the election on November 3rd, when we're hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst if protests persist and there's any kind of misconduct in the crowd. We'll have our officers upgraded with more protective equipment so that they can ensure that people who want to protest safely are allowed to. So that's really good news, and thank you all for putting that on as an item on your agenda to solicit. Next, though, I visited the hospital today. One of our officers was hit by a car, and thank God she's going to be okay. But I just want to relay some of the facts as it relates to our officers, so you can kind of be aware and be sensitive to kind of the plight of the 13,000 men and women of the Chicago Police Department. To date, 66 have been shot at or shot so far in 2020, and that's 5 times the number on record. So that's the highest number on record of officers shot at or shot. 10 have been shot, and that's significantly higher of any number of officers that's shot in a single year, and it's not yet the end of the year. So please keep officers in your thoughts and prayers. This is a very tough time to be in law enforcement for various reasons, but their physical and emotional safety and wellness is really important to ensure that they are doing the things we want them to do in the ways that we want them to do them right, while at the same time holding them accountable and reforming the department. But just keep them in your hearts and minds and prayers regarding them and their safety, especially for their families. And let me close out with this. You know, we have a lot of moving parts. This is my 5th month here, and I've been drinking water from a fire hydrant, it seems. But we are seeing progress. As tenuous as it is, the structures that I've changed since I've been here went into effect July 23rd. So from July 23rd forward, even though it seems that the headlines are that every night we have significant violence, while we do, and one violent act is one too many, we've seen a 44% decline in murders and shootings since our citywide teams were implemented beginning July 23rd. And those are our community safety team, our summer mobile patrol, and our critical incident response teams that are not only taking enforcement, but making connections in the community through community service projects in the hopes of building trust with the community so that we can do the job in the right ways with the community. And so a 44% decline in murders, 18% decline in shootings since July 23rd. A lot of work to be done. No one's satisfied, but that's tenuous progress. And we just want to relay that to you. Thank you so much, Mr. President. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Superintendent. It's good to hear that we're making some progress in some areas, and I can relay this. Mr. Perryman, who's one of our regular speakers, called me just right before the meeting, and he asked me to express he's not going to join the meeting today, but he met with Cato, and he actually felt like he was getting that he was being heard and that there was some progress being made. He asked me to relay this to you, and so. I think that people are starting to understand that when the community works together hand in hand with the police department, we can get some results, but it's going to take some time. It's not going to be immediate. So Mr. Perryman asked me to relay that to you and your team. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now, Chief Roberts, would you like to provide your oral report?
Yes, I would. President Foreman, tonight I would like to focus my comments on the recent report released by the Inspector General and the media coverage regarding COPA and city's video release policy. When COPA launched, it was on the heels of the death of Laquan McDonald by Officer Jason Van Dyke. The outcries of the public were critical of what they deemed a deliberate delay in the release of important video evidence from the shooting. The resulting civil unrest, questions, and the doubts made clear that the residents of the city of Chicago were desperate for change. Leadership, elected officials, along with our current mayor, who was leading the Police Accountability Task Force, took bold steps to move transparency, specifically related to the release of video and other materials to an unprecedented level. And they assured the public that police accountability was essential to the city of Chicago and necessary for police reform and public trust. Since launching as the city's police accountability agency in 2017, COPA, in more than 300 use of force incidents, has released relevant body-worn camera, in-car camera, pod, third-party video, as well as 911 calls and tactical response reports from officer-involved shootings, motor vehicle pursuits, and deaths or great bodily injury that resulted from police action. That is our mandate, and that is our responsibility. From the time COPA launched, it has not been perfect, but we have faced challenges before in our operations, and we overcame them. We've been challenged in our investigations, and we overcame them. And we have faced challenges in the release of video material, and we are overcoming those. We have moved with expediency to release videos and being met with challenges highlighted in the Inspector General's report. We would like to provide some clarification. First and foremost, we have and continue to work with CPD and OEMC to identify ways to improve our related processes to ensure release within the 60-day timeframe. However, as with many things, even as processes are being developed, being revamped, and being improved, unforeseen issues may still arise. Nevertheless, I want to assure the public at this moment that COPA has never intentionally withheld the release of a mandated transparency material. COPA is transparent and committed to police oversight and building trust in our agency. It's the reason why we have met with tens of thousands of residents since our inception, hundreds of community groups and community activists, clergy, and families that were impacted as a result of an officer-involved shooting or death as a result of police action. It is why we dedicate significant time educating young people and inspiring them to be a part of the change now and the future of police reform. And those efforts will continue. And so to the transparencies referenced in the Inspector General's report, it is important that I provide context to what has been described as not being in compliance to the public to whom we are accountable. Of the 122 cases reviewed, 14 were delayed by a day, 1 day. When an incident like an officer-involved shooting occurs, COPA is notified by CPD, which results in COPA's immediate deployment to the scene of the shooting to begin our investigation. Regardless of the time of day or night, incidents can occur in the last hour of the night. However, COPA may not receive notification from CPD until the midnight hour has elapsed, and thus the following day. Instances such as these cause COPA to calculate the release date based on the date of notification. COPA, unfortunately, released the video materials from the date of notification rather than the date of incident. Again, delaying the release by just 1 day. And this has been corrected. Also noted were 12 incidents involving complaints received from the public that did not involve a discharge of an officer's weapon. Often, information received at the onset of an investigation may not indicate that the complaint qualifies for transparency release. In these instances, COPA must reach a determination that great bodily harm occurred. And this may require the review of medical reports, the interview of a complainant, and other important investigative steps. And in these 12 instances, COPA released the transparency materials 60 days after confirming that the complaint was eligible for release. These are but a small fraction of the more than 300 use of force transparency releases COPA has carried out, but they are instances in which I take full responsibility. We understand the value of public trust and can assure the public that there has not been any deliberate or intentional delay of video in any officer-involved shooting or investigation that qualified for release. We own our actions and have and will make necessary corrections. That is the essence of responsibility on which we hold ourselves accountable. COPA is unwavering in our commitment to the timely release of transparency materials pursuant to the city's video release policy. We continue to enhance transparency by providing the public all relevant incident-related information. And again, not just video, but also audio of 911 calls, CPD car audio, documents such as CPD's arrest and tactical response reports. Unlike many other cities, timely release of materials under Chicago's policy, it is not discretionary. The city's policy provides comprehensive transparency by mandating the release of all incident-related materials. Absent legal prohibition, COPA releases all materials as required by the policy. Transparency and objectivity are the cornerstones of COPA's commitment to civilian police oversight, and we remain resolute in our commitment to timely provide materials to the public. I, as COPA's Chief Administrator, appreciates OIG's review, and prior to the release of their report and recommendations, we modified processes to incorporate them. We are the Civilian Office of Police Accountability. We are civilians. We represent fairness, and we represent integrity. We are a part of this city's police reform efforts. We own our responsibility required of us, and we hold ourselves accountable to you, the public. And thus, you can count on COPA. You can count on me to continue the timely release of transparency materials in all matters qualifying for release. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. Board members, any questions? Okay, if not, I will now call upon members of the public who signed up in advance to speak. Each speaker will be unmuted after I call his or her name. The caveat, if technology doesn't work, we're going to try *67. So the first speaker is going to be Joel Hammernick. Do we have Joel?
Good evening.
Good
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joel Hammernick, as President mentioned, and I serve in my capacity as the president of Sunshine Gospel Ministries. My family and I live in the Woodlawn community, where I've led the efforts of Sunshine since 2004. Sunshine has served youth in our community for decades, but this year we have initiated a new program, hired staff, and increased our community engagement with the end goal of reducing violence in the 3rd Police District. We have called our program the Flourishing Communities Initiative. A critical component of this work is our community members better understanding what is happening over time around them. Specifically, we are working to ask critical questions and have access to and engagement around statistical trends that indicate success or improvement, key indicators of community health. A critical part of these data points has to do with law enforcement, which is what brings me to my call tonight. We've initiated a group of residents and stakeholders to read the consent decree together and to ask 4 questions. In each area, each of the 10 areas of reform, that the city has committed to, what are these 10 areas? What exactly are the promises made? Second question, how are we doing on each promise made? Third, how do we know how we're doing? Where is the data and where's it coming from? And fourth, how are we doing in our particular police district, and how does that compare to the rest of the city? We want to track this information to celebrate success where it's appropriate and to call for accountability where there is not a needed improvement as of yet. Tonight I'm here to let you know that we will need your help in answering these questions. We need access to information from the police department. We know that approximately 150 non-fatal shootings happen annually in our community, in our district over the past 6 years. We know that we've averaged approximately 30 homicides annually over the past 10 years. We have access to some broad data points as these, but we need other elements that are more granular, real-time, and of priority to our community members. As our conversations are evolving, one of the most apparent indicator of success in policing, besides reduction in specific and various crimes, are the presence of trust and transparency. It's also clear that the present rate of rotations of officers and commanders makes trust nearly impossible to build and maintain. So tonight, to start, I'm asking for answers to just 2 basic questions. What is the average length of service for officers and separately commanders in our police district during each of the previous 10 years? And second, what specific indicators are used to evaluate commander performance in our district? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Superintendent. Who should I have Mr. Hammernick get in touch, or who should I kind of point Mr. Hammernick to?
Yes, he asked a couple of questions. Statistical analysis is one area, but if he could just get with my chief of staff, Bob Boyk, we can referee who he needs to speak with and get him the answers he's asked tonight.
Okay, so Mr. Hammernick, what I'm going to do is I'll get you in touch with Max Caproni, and we'll coordinate to ensure that you can get some of the answers. I think these are some great points that you brought up. And again, Superintendent, as you were talking about how the community and the police department have to work together, it sounds like a good place where we could get started.
Yeah.
Next up, Miss Jennifer Edwards. And so I've been informed that *6 is the route that we have to press. So Miss Edwards, *6. Miss Edwards, can you hear me? All right, I'll come back to Miss Edwards. I'm going to go to Jesse Pollard. If you can press *6. Oh, Miss Edwards, I got you. Okay, Miss Edwards.
Okay, good. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
This report is from the concerned citizens of Park Manor in Chatham, and it's about detrimental issues on East 79th Street. We'd like to address the quality of life in the 6th district, specifically in the Chatham area of East 79th Street. The residents in this area assist the police by voting, attending CPD beat meetings, and participate in various community groups, GCA, CAPCC, GCI, and CPS local school councils. Those are described in the written report, who they are. At these meetings, over the past 10 years, various suggestions for improvements have been made involving safety, and our quality of life has been compromised and threatened. The situations and negative contributing factors we've encountered, many involve businesses and compounding negative factors that have increased crime on the 79th Street corridor. Like the 95th to 79th Street corridor, unattended hotspots should be assigned an incident car. Our justification is as follows. Police Beat 624 is the highest crime area in the city of Chicago. The 6th Police District is a training unit without long-standing officers that get a chance to know the community residents. Follow-up is never completed when new officers are assigned, and the process starts all over with nothing being accomplished. Requests for officers that know and care about area residents in our community have been ignored. Beat 623 and Beat 624 have joint bi-monthly CAPS meetings, which doesn't provide ample time to discuss and address issues for either beat in 1 hour. Excuse me. Residents inform officers of specific community issues with no follow-up from the officers as to the status of the issues. At the meeting, no one is aware of the situation, or the officer that handles the issue is not present to provide status updates. More information will be given with the next speaker. Detrimental issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. The next speaker is Gail Salisbury. Gail Salisbury.
Hi, this is Gail Salisbury. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Thank you. I am discussing the Happy Liquor and Food at 7901 South Cottage Grove Avenue. There is continuous loitering around Happy Liquors and Food, and Happy Liquors and Food agreed to a liquor license plan of operation, and currently this is they're no longer honoring the agreement. And because Happy Liquor and Food is not honoring the agreement, area residents want the store closed. In addition to that, we have suggestions to improve our quality of life, and they are to implement neighborhood policing initiatives in the 6th district, to vote the area around Happy Liquor and Food dry. Businesses meet once per quarter with area residents. However, due to COVID, area residents are not currently allowed to meet with the businesses at the CPD business meeting or via virtual meetings. CPD should assign a dedicated patrol car on 79th Street and adjacent streets. Businesses sign a no trespassing affidavit, call CPD when it is violated, and receive a rapid response from CPD. Businesses agree to be evaluated by the Chatham Business Association to identify improvements
that will increase business and benefit the community. An improved outdoor lighting for individual side streets, which were changed by the LED lights that were added a few years ago. And visible store name and removal of signage blocking store windows, which risk for police approaching businesses. Garbage disposal program hopes to increase the streets and sanitation pickup of garbage on the main corridors and increase the availability of mental health services. We ask for more CPD attention to the situations we've listed on the 79th Street corridor and hope that there can be an increase in the amount of incident cars and patrol personnel due to the 6th District having the highest crime areas in the city of Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Superintendent, before I ask you, because I know this is all one group, so before I ask you to comment, I'll kind of let the entire group kind of get through. So next speaker, Matt Brandon. Mr. Brandon, if you could press *6. Little technical difficulties today, I think. Next speaker.
Can you hear me now, President Foreman?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Brandon.
Okay, just so you know, when we initially press *6, we get a message that we have been muted by the meeting host and can't unmute yourself. So there's something wrong with the system, just so you know. But anyway, good evening, President Foreman, Vice President Wolf, Superintendent Brown, of course, Dana O'Malley, Director Brooks, and the command staff. And I have to really say, I've been remiss in not saying the same thing to Chief Roberts. Good evening, Chief Roberts. You have a difficult job, and I've always meant to recognize that, and thank you. I want to thank the superintendent and command staff for attending the backyard conversation that was held on the South Side. It was really appreciated, and it's been the talk of the community for a long time. Thank you, Superintendent. We also want to announce that Communities Organized to Win is initiating a drive to support the Neighborhood Police Initiative by putting together with our community partners lists, resident contact lists, so that the district communication officers, once they get here, can hit the ground running. We plan to do those lists in District 3, 6, 4, and 7, and we will submit those lists to the CAP officers so that the DCOs can have them. We also would like to thank the Cook County Sheriff for returning to the Chatham area. They held a roll call on Wednesday. The community was there, and we hope that they can be support to our CPD officers. I want to say to my dear friend Flora Suttle, who I know is on the call, you're in my thoughts and prayers, and I continue to pray for you as you seek justice. And we wish to continue to work with the Chicago Police Department in helping solve the plague of violence that troubles our community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Brandon. All right, I'm going to try to see if I can get Ms. Norfleet. Ms. Norfleet, have you been able to get unmuted? Okay. Next speaker, Jorico Smart, but I do not think. So, Superintendent, would you like to address some of the conversations we just had about the 6th District?
Yes, I'm very well aware of the area that's been mentioned. We have added extra resources, but we are in other parts of the district due to some gang conflicts. But I will definitely redirect Commander Muhammad to those areas. It's really disappointing that we can't meet in person like we normally would due to COVID. And many times the communication has been disconnected between the district commander and his team and the neighborhood who can't meet on a regular basis and face-to-face. But I really appreciate the information here at this police board meeting to make sure that I am responsive to when we need to redeploy resources to areas that the community sees that might not show up in our deployment strategy. So I'll definitely visit with District Commander Muhammad tonight and get him to move resources over on the corridor that they're at 79th Street.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Flora Subtle. Ms. Subtle, can you unmute yourself, please? *6.
Good evening, everyone. This is Flora Subtle. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, thank you so much, Matt Brandon, for your kind words. They were much needed at this time. And I'd like to say good evening to the superintendent and the police board and to Sydney Roberts. Well, as usual, when I call, I'm talking about my son, Derek Subtle, who was killed February 11th, 2012. Chief Robert, I heard your presentation. I read Joe Ferguson's Inspector General's report, and I do see progress. Inspector General, thank you so much for releasing the report. But here's my thing, Ms. Roberts. Derek Suttle's case was closed in 2012. That was another administration. There was another mayor, another police superintendent, another state's attorney. And you've always handled it as a closed case. I hear what you're doing on cases that are open. Now, I was told the procedure that I followed was the procedure to use to get the case reopened criminally. I have not heard you address that period, how to reopen and what's the status and what's your role in reopening closed cases. The other one, the other point I want to put out right now is Superintendent Brown. There was also a detective's investigation done for the justifiable homicide that was concluded by the detective division. Want that reopened? Look into that. When you look at COPA, because COPA agreed with IPRA, and the detective's criminal investigation, both into shootings, there's a problem. The cover-up. I'm asking you to look into that.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Subtle. Ms. Subtle, so I will make sure I coordinate with Chief Roberts, and we will make sure someone will get in touch with you.
Okay, can I say one last thing positively? I've been working with the Central South Shore Area Council in addressing some of the problems within our community, and our area handles the 3rd and 4th district. I'll talk more about it maybe the next time, but I am getting involved with a group in my area so that we can work with the police on a positive basis.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And thanks again, Matt.
I appreciate you continuing to join the police board meetings as well as your continued service with making your community better. Next speaker is Larry Subtle. You can press *6, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. So good evening to everyone who joined the call. My name is Laurie Settle. Tonight, I would like to report out updates of my own for members of the public. First, I'd like to publicly congratulate First Deputy Superintendent Eric Carter and Deputy Superintendent Barbara West for their new leadership roles within the department. 2, last month, a member of the community mentioned the NPI, Neighborhood Policing Initiative, that was announced earlier that day. After completing research of my own, I applaud the superintendent's efforts of trying to improve community police relations only because of who the department chose to partner with regarding this issue, which is the Policing Project, NYU School of Law. As someone whose parent was killed 3 blocks away from where they live, community policing will continue to be a hard area to improve for members of this department until the past and present mistakes are addressed. 3, I'd like to thank members of the City Council and representatives of the Mayor's Office who participated in today's joint subject matter hearing on CPD's budget. As a resident, I gained much more clarity and insight about fiscal matters relating to CPD, which at this point in time is crucial in internal and external decision-making. 4, I regret to inform members of the public that on September 3rd, 2020, I resigned from the Use of Force Community Working Group for reasons I do not wish to disclose at this moment, citing internal sensitivities. 5, I concur with the recent reports from the Public Safety section of the Office of Inspector General's office regarding COPA's process for administratively terminating disciplinary investigations in compliance with the city's video release policy for use of force incidents and the independent monitoring team's community survey report. And I am encouraging others to look into this information. The last point, I know I'm running out of time. I'll save that point until next month, but it has something to do with protests and civil unrest. But those are my reports for this month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tuttle. I'm going to try Ms. Norfleet again. Ms. Norfleet?
Hello.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Thank you very much. All righty. It was a little bit of a challenge to get through. As colleague Brandon indicated, we were having some glitches. But my comments are as follows, and I am sharing this on behalf of my other colleague, Ms. Burns. We want to thank Superintendent Brown for attending the August 22nd backyard gathering of the Southside residents in Grand Crossing. The candid conversation was greatly appreciated. However, there are growing concerns about the huge gap between CPD stated goals versus observed reality. The goal, equitable distribution of police resources, human and technology. The reality, resources are openly diverted to downtown. The goal, community policing with bikes, foot patrol, and consistent beat coverage. The reality is reports of personnel shortage due to retirement, low recruitment, lack of visible pipeline for new personnel via the cadet program or other channels. A goal, working consent decree reforms in both letter and spirit of the law. The reality is increasingly toxic rhetoric from FOP leadership and ongoing contractual impasse. Uniform officers wearing thin blue face masks as it is in contrast with CPD guidelines. It is time to tell the truth, are the words of James Baldwin. Not everything can be changed, but nothing will be changed until it is faced. Truth requires fact, and the interested public needs to understand exactly how these goals can become reality, and if they cannot, we absolutely need to know that. I just want to underscore her statements by saying, again, we encourage, we implore so that there can be diversity in our public safety corps, that you must use this cadet program. You must start early. You must get into areas such as our educational system and other civic organizations to start recruitment, to start expanding and explaining the role of our public safety officers and what a tremendous privilege it is to serve. Thank you very much and have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, Ms. Norfleet. Next speaker, Betty Wilson. Ms. Wilson, I don't know if you're on, we don't have your number, so I need you to do *6. Oh no, I'll take that back.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come. This is my first time coming on to your meeting. However, my name is Betty Wilson, and I am a facilitator for B414 and also a block club president. So on behalf of the community that I'm coming to, and some people have already addressed the particular area, I'm also on 79th, but we're at 79th on the other end, on 79th around Stony to East End. And our question that we are concerned about, that it has been designated 79th and Stony Island to East End, up in that area, has been designated as a hotspot. It has been designated as a hotspot for some time. However, the question is, we do not see any changes, even though it's a designated hotspot. And we would like to know, why is that? Why is it that we continue to see the prostitution? We continue to see the drug sale. We continue to see the lottery, the selling of loose cigarettes and cooking on city sidewalk, whether it's private or just the city. But nothing is being changed. We have upscales of shooting within our areas. One particular area is 75th and Chappelle, where over 5 years they have known of one drug house, but nothing has been done. And now communities, houses are being shot in because bullets do not have any kinds of names on them. So even as a community, we do as we are asked. We come together. We do calls. We call 911. We do phone trees. We have talked to the businesses. We have talked to our aldermen. We come to our CAPS meeting and whatnot. And yet we see a lack of, in our community, we do not see what we see downtown. As I go downtown, I see rows and rows of policemen all down Michigan. But on our south side, in our community, I do not see that same initiative of protection or surveillance or presence of our CPD officers.
Sorry to cut you off, Ms. Wilson. Superintendent, do you want to respond?
Yes, we are committed to protecting our neighborhoods in the same way you've seen in downtown. And even while we've been on this call, I've been texting Commander Muhammad of the 6th District, relaying your concerns and ensuring that we get on top of this and ensure you get the same police presence that the downtown area gets. We have it in parts of the district, but again, obviously we're not addressing the community's concern. So we will get on top of that. And Commander Muhammad is a good commander, and I've given him this information that I've been receiving tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next speaker, Ugochi Ofoa. You can press *6.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ugochi, and I'd like to share my thoughts on the effectiveness of police reform. I would love a world where I could just ask for more police accountability, but if CPD can disregard recommendations from COPA, then this is not a system that is working for the safety of the people. We keep saying reform and give them more money or more training. Trying the same thing over and over again is not going to work. Police reform isn't going to work because it hasn't been working. And it hasn't worked since August 15th, 1835, when Chicago Police Department was formed back when Chicago was still a town. It's time to try something new. It's time to defund the police and instead fund housing, education, and public health. Public safety means having access to things like jobs that pay a livable wage and substance abusive facilities, not more cops in our communities. I ask all members of the community to use your imagination. This can't be the best we can come up with. Imagine a different way of living, a different way of feeling safe, because what we have now does not work. It does not work because people are being harassed, brutalized, and murdered by the police. We as a society can do better. If a hospital had doctors that killed every 5th patient, would you recommend better training and more money? If you did, would you yourself visit that hospital or recommend others go while doctors are being trained? No, you probably want the hospital to be shut down, or at the very least, you'd avoid it at all costs. If you went to a restaurant that gave you really bad food poisoning, would you continue visiting? If the health check was bad enough, the city would shut it down. So the question is, how bad is bad enough for the CPD? What is your threshold? Because if you're not there yet, you're either not paying attention or you fully support the maltreatment of Chicagoans by CPD. Information I've gathered through hearing the testimony of others or from reading reports, CPD has been ineffective at solving cases at best and deceitful and murderous at worst. I'm stating again that what we have now is not good enough. Everyone in this meeting and on the call has the power to effect change. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next speaker is CPD transparency. CPD transparency. If you could press *6.
Hello again. I want to talk about the student, a Displays officer shot with his personal AR-15 at close range 10 months ago. Ben Bradley and WGN News showed surveillance camera from inside the music school. The student was completely innocent. Neither Chicago nor Displays police have said a single solitary word to him. Displays chief used to be Chicago police, explains the stupidity and cruelty. Our police chief at the time was Eddie Johnson, so can't throw rocks. The doctor said the boy's injury is like a wounded soldier. Displays police chief said at the press conference, it's regrettable an officer was shot. It's even more regrettable the offender was shot by Displays police responding. He did not mention the student. It's absurd to come to the gang to report the gang, but I wish I could tell the student the following. If you shoot at a Chicago police officer, they get to kill you, unwritten law, even if you didn't shoot. If you're a black man, they aim for the groin in case you survive. The bank robber shot at a Chicago police officer who was blocking his car. 20 squads were chasing him from Displays high speeds, all for $15,000, going to cost a lot more than that. Residents near the bank tackled one robber and held him until he was in cuffs. They had a photo of the second and could have captured him later. The bank doesn't have an armed guard. The bank drops a tracker into the money. That's how Displays police were following him. Police chases always end like this. It doesn't make sense. 3 people were shot, including a completely innocent 15-year-old who was in a music school. He can't play anymore. The Displays officer was presented to us as a hero. He's not a hero. The official gang insignia of the Chicago police, the blue line flag, and the skull from the Punisher comic book tell you all you need to know about their intelligence. They can think 1 or 2 steps, that's it, and they will resent the effort. But the way Chicago police treats its completely innocent victims is inhuman. It's September 17th. Happy Constitution Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Joe Smart. Joe Smart.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Once again, my name is Joe Smart. And this is my first time involved in this police council meeting, board meeting. And I give my thanks to the board for giving your time and everything and doing what you do. I really do appreciate it. And a lot of my concerns that I have don't affect me personally. But the Miss Barbara, the young lady that was speaking just a moment ago, I attend a lot of the CAPS meetings and Connect the Block meetings with her. And some of our concerns regarding the quality of life in our community need to be addressed like yesterday. She was speaking about the young lady in our CAPS meeting yesterday evening. She was explaining to us how bullets was flying in our house as she was at home that evening over here on 75th and Chappelle, which is unacceptable. And I recall being in a CAPS meeting 5 years ago, and they was speaking their concerns regarding the violence on that block. It's 5 years after the fact, and the violence is still there. Tomorrow evening, they having a prayer visual. So I asked that if not the Commissioner Brown can attend, or somebody on the board that can attend and just get familiar with that area, and maybe you can talk with some of the community, the people in the community from that area, to get an idea or a feeling of what they're feeling unsafe in the community. And also I spoke about the community policing. I'm involved.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut you off. But if I could ask you to contact the police board meeting, if you can get us information about the community meetings, that you would like someone to attend, I can ensure that we can get pass the information along and try to make sure that we can get someone there. Last speaker, Robert Moore.
Hello.
Okay, all right, great. Ms. Hudson, wonderful.
Hi. So my name is Linda Hudson, and I'm the president and founding member of the 8th Ward Accountability Coalition, or EWAC. Today at 11:30 a.m., EWAC held a prayer visual for the 24-year-old male carrier that was shot 4 times last Thursday in the Burnside neighborhood. There is a war going on in the Burnside community where the postal worker was shot. I have attended many prayer vigils, and there is always a large CPD present. Today, that did not happen. The 4th District sent 1 car, and they got to the visual very late. Very disappointed in the 4th District Police. In general, there needs to be more CPD resources in the Burnside community. I repeat, there is a war going on in the Burnside community. Today was the first time in a week that the residents received their mail. The president of the Chicago Postal Workers Union made it very clear that if there is no protection for the mail carriers, the residents will have to continue to pick up their mail from the post office. On another note, I agree with the caller talking about Happy's Liquors on 79th. It is a burden in the community. I am in support of voting that area dry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Superintendent, anything you want to say, or Burnside?
Yeah, I was actually texting Commander Rubio over the district commander of the 4th District about the prayer vigil attendance. That's disappointing. There's not going to explain right now why we couldn't send more officers to do the prayer vigil. So we're going to make sure that that doesn't happen again. But again, I took note as well, texting about the concerns regarding the postal worker, so we can make sure that we.
Thank you very much. Mr. Moore, I can see that you're already unmuted. Mr. Moore, if you would like to get started.
Yes, can you hear me, Mr. Foreman?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes,
okay, very good. First of all, I apologize. There's some background noise here. I'm just under the exigencies doing the best I can. I incorporate the regular disclaimers. This is the 1 Timothy 5:22, never incur complicity in anyone else's sin. And I do not concede nor consent to the continued existence and operation of the nominal United States nor any of the political subdivisions, because they are instruments of the Tobshebe Goyim Haramist genocide of the Goyim agenda in progress. Of that, I am convinced. Within that context, there's certain things that happen, like when Mr. Foreman makes an effort to enable me to get my positions into the public record, that provides me relief. It spares me grief and shields me from harm. And as I understand it, it helps move the ball forward to correcting the problem. There's a Karen Knox, who's star number 17320, took police report JD 368887, which restored my faith to some extent in fallen human nature. She took the whole task so serious, the precision, the attention to detail, the thoroughness. If she's against abortion and sodomy and everything else that the Catholic Church has condemned, she is way underemployed and is nominated for promotion until we can get this whole arrangement replaced with a legitimate arrangement as to domestic law enforcement. Mr. Superintendent Brown, what is this present status of the Bland, Young, and Spencer murders, investigation, non-investigation? What is the present status of those supposed investigations? Hello?
Again, is it okay for me to answer now? You want to? Sure. Yeah, if you can get your information, I'll have our homicide detectives visit with you to give updates on where we are with that, with the information we can.
All right, I got to continue. Are you familiar, Mr. Superintendent, with United Nations Agenda 21? When I make reference to United Nations Agenda 21, do you understand what that is?
Mr. Moore, why don't you email us over a 1 page on the United Nations? I don't want you to hold all of your time on the United Nations.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Foreman. Let me get on to the next issue. The next issue is I'm filing a FOIA regarding the investigation of the alleged investigations of Bland Young and Spencer murders, and also regard all this, the at least 3 months of violence and criminality. Because the problem for 106 years since the enactment of the Federal Reserve Act is the actual super cloud cover global plantation owners who push the buttons and pull the strings behind everything at the top.
At this time, I have now called upon all members of the public who have signed up to speak. Is there a motion to adjourn?
This is Paula Wolf. I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Michael Eady, I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion passes and the motion is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Everyone stay safe.